Hilda, Chapter 6, Home, Part 1. The night air was cold against my skin, sharp and biting as I stepped into the darkened streets. I pulled my coat tighter around me, my heart racing as I glanced back at my house. Its window was dark, my father's shadow looming behind the curtains. Home, I thought bitterly. What a strange word. Home was supposed to be a sanctuary, a place of warmth and safety, but as I ran, each footfall echoing in the empty streets, I couldn't help but feel that home had become something foreign, something I no longer recognized. The streets of my childhood felt alien beneath my feet, the familiar landmarks distorted in the shadows of the night. As I sprinted past the old bakery, the sweet scent of bread and pastries seemed a distant memory, a ghost of the life I used to know. I recalled the laughter that filled the shop, the cheerful greetings exchanged with the baker, Mr. Muller, whose flour-dusted hands would always offer me a warm roll. I could still see the way his eyes crinkled with joy, and yet here I was, fleeing from everything I have ever known, haunted by a father who had turned into a stranger. For what? What had happened to my country? My city used to be a place of pride, but now it felt like a landscape of fear and despair. I could no longer walk the streets without feeling the weight of suspicion in the air, the invisible eyes watching, waiting. My heart ached as I considered the once vibrant townspeople, now reduced to whispers, shadow of their former selves. Where was my home? Was it sprawling countryside where fields of golden wheat danced in the sun? Was it the cities bustling with life, now suffocated under the weight of oppression? Each image conjured warmth, but that warmth had turned ash in my mouth. I felt like a ghost drifting through a world that no longer welcomed me. Home had always been more than just walls and a roof. It was the laughter of my family around the dinner table, the sound of my mother's voice humming softly as she worked, the way my father would smile at me with pride after I had recited a poem, my stupid fights with Carl whenever we wanted to play, and Hans writing my homework because I didn't quite come to understand math. But now the very idea of family felt hollow. My mother, caught in the grief of his sons, seemed to drift further away each day. I could sense her disillusionment, her quiet acceptance of the madness enveloping us. I stumbled into an alley, the cobblestones slaked with rain, and leaned against the damp brick wall, gasping for breath. I had to keep moving. Thoughts of Paul and the group flashed through my mind. They were out there, still fighting for a cause I believed in, yet I had left them behind, abandoned them when they needed me the most. What was the price of loyalty? Would it mean my own demise? The image of Paul's beaten body filled my mind. What if he broke under the pressure? What if he revealed our names, our hideouts? I knew he would. That's why I ran away. I pressed my fingers to my temples, wailing away anxiety that clung at me. My thoughts spiraled into a chaotic mess, a cacophony of fear and uncertainty. I didn't even feel at home within my own mind. Every corner I turned was a reminder of my fractured identity. I was Hilda, a girl caught between worlds, the past I had known and the uncertain future that lay ahead. The girl who once danced through fields of wild flowers, now ran through shadows, a fugitive in her own life. As I emerged from the alley, the moon hung low in the sky, a pale sentinel watching over the chaos of the world. I paused to catch my breath, leaning against a lamppost that flickered dimly in the night. The light cast strange shadows, and for a moment I felt as if I were in a dream, an ephemeral creature caught between reality and fantasy. What had I hoped for when I fled? Was it freedom, or simply the illusion of safety? I thought of the meetings we had held in the basement, camaraderie that had felt like home, and that dim light surrounded by friends who shared my fears and dreams. I had felt alive. But what is home without the people who fill it with meaning? My heart ached for the faces of my comrades, their laughter echoing in my mind like a forgotten melody. They had become my family, a chosen family bound by a shared mission, yet now they were in danger and I had abandoned them. I pushed away from the lamppost and forced myself to move forward, each step heavy with guilt. My thoughts wandered to the places I had visited, the laughter shared, and the plans we had made. I remembered the protest we led, the feeling of power coursing through us, the belief that we could change the tide. But how naive we had been, thinking our voices could stand against the deafening roar of tyranny. I turned the corner, the weight of my thoughts pressing down on me. Home wasn't just a physical place, it was a feeling, an emotion that wrapped around you like a warm blanket. But I felt stripped bare, exposed to the chill of the night and the harsh realities of the world outside. The fire that had once burned brightly within me flickered like a dying ember, and I couldn't help but wonder if I could ever find my way back to the warmth of belonging. As I reached the edge of the town, the landscape opened up before me. The fields stretched endlessly into the horizon, bathed in the silvery glow of the moonlight. I stopped for a moment, the cool breeze brushing against my cheeks, and I closed my eyes. I could almost hear the whispers of the past, the rustle of leaves, the distant laughter of children playing, but those echoes faded into the emptiness, leaving me with an ache in my heart. Was I running towards something or simply away from everything? I felt like a ship adrift to a turbulent sea, lost and without direction. The night was both a sanctuary and a prison, its vastness swallowing me whole. In the distance, I saw the outline of a barn, a silhouette against the night sky. I hesitated, wondering if it was worth investigating, if it could provide some semblance of shelter or safety. But the idea of seeking refuge felt like a betrayal of my friends, the ones still fighting in the shadows. I wanted to be brave, to stand tall against the darkness, but fear grips me tighter than ever. Home might be elusive, a concept that slipped through my fingers like sand, but perhaps it wasn't lost forever. Maybe it could be rebuilt, piece by piece, in the shared laughter and determination of those who refused to be silenced. Bella, she came floating back to me, a beacon of warmth in the darkness that surrounded my heart. She was the only person who had ever listened to me without judgment, who had taken the time to see beyond the surface. In a world that felt increasingly hostile and cold, Bauer had been a secondary, a fleeting but profound sense of home. Wait, did I just say Bauer? It's funny that I still think I'm the Hilda who hated her. I could still remember that day. I could still feel her slap on my cheek. But I didn't stop. Something ugly inside me wanted to push her further. Stop what? At least I don't suck the foolish dick in the literature class. Literature's supposed to be about literature, not an asshole who kisses everyone who speaks. Before I could finish, she stuck me across my face. The thing was immediate, sharp, and hot. Don't you ever disrespect him in this school again, she snarled. Yes, we hated each other that day. We hated each other more than anything. But for as long as she was alive, Frau Bauer remained a constant in my life, a presence, a grounding force that drew me back. Home wasn't just a place, it was the connections we forged, the love we shared, and the strength we drew from one another. And as I closed my eyes, I held on to the thought of Frau Bauer, the teacher who had listened, who had cared, and who had made me feel like I belonged. In her, I found a reflection of the home I sought, a reminder that even amidst the turmoil, there was still a light waiting to guide me back. As I made my way through the cobblestone streets, the world around me felt heavy and oppressive, a blanket of uncertainty draping over every familiar landmark. With every passing moment, I felt the weight of my decision pressing down on me. The streets seemed to close in, the walls of the buildings looming like sentinels, watching my every move. I had been running from the chaos of my life, from the violence and fear that had infiltrated my existence. But now, as I approached Bower's house, I felt a flicker of hope, a misty despair. There was a place that held memories of laughter and joy, a sanctuary where I had found solace in her words. As I had the entrance, my breath caught in my throat. I hesitated, standing before the door, the weight of uncertainty clinging to me like, should I knock? What if she wasn't home? What if she had changed just as the world around us had? I felt a swell of doubt rising within me, threatening to pull me back into the darkness I had been fighting against. I raised my trembling hand, hovering just above the doorbell, my heart racing. In that moment, I felt like a fragile bird, battered by storms, searching for a place to rest my weary wings. With a deep breath, I pressed the button, the sound echoing like a distant chime. The ringing filled the silence, and I felt a rush of adrenaline coursing through me. What would I say? Would she still welcome me with open arms, or had the shadows of the world outside seeped into her home as well? Finally, I heard the soft sound of footsteps approaching from within. My breath hitched as the door creaked open, revealing Fauba's warm smile, a lighthouse in the storm. Her eyes sparkled with recognition, and in that instant I felt the weight of the world begin to lift. Hilda! She was waiting for this moment. She knew I would be forced to run away, sooner or later. She had seen this coming.